long past, but not to be forgot. Battle rage cross our fragile earth. Generations youth ripped cruel away. Both sons and fathers buried side by side. Forced to kill or be killed in return. To blindly fight on king and country's whim. The future's youth may never understand the hell that descended upon this place. They can but swear to honor fallen men and pray such horrors never come again.
Deep underneath the unplanned graves of those whose lives were offered up like bait.
Far down below the thick and oily mud, we find the men. Who trudge towards their fate.
They crawl upon their bellies,
Inch by inch.
they scrape the clay,
And breathe the stale air.
They listen out for sounds from other men who seek to find them out and trap them there.
each moment living with the heavy fact that where they lie may yet become their graves.
As earth and weight and tragic circumstance
Does heavy from above upon them weigh. Down here we find a man, Herbert is his name, who half his life was spent beneath the earth, a miner, born and bred through fathers past. Now finds himself beneath a field in France to dig out holes beneath the enemy feet and lay the charges sent down from on high, who deemed death from above was not enough, and seek out other ways to kill young men.
A simple man with simple taste is he, who not once dreamt of shirking from his fate. 3 times he volunteered, but was refused, as doctors claimed his heart had not the strength to cope with all the stress that lay ahead. But seeing men much younger than himself, all shipped to foreign fields and left to die, he felt the burden of his country's call and could not rest until he played his part. So he persevered until the day when stock of younger blood was running low, and he was offered up his chance to die, to help his country deal another blow. So, off he went with noble, brave intent to serve king and country with a smile. But as each day of war was cruelly scratched into his conscience like many scars, his sense of life began to ebb away. Fresh horrors witnessed each and every day. Eyes for eyes and teeth for teeth exchanged. From that moment forth, the world had changed.
digging tunnels took its toll. The daily toil was backbreaking and bleak. Our hero Herbert passed his days alone. His trudging progress measured inch by inch. His days began to melt like wax into one endless stretch of hours, undefined. The thought that kept a spark within his breast was simply that of wife at home in wait. Her belly swelled with life grown from his seed. A child, a hope that from this sea of death new life may grow, who'll never see such sights, and may, from predecessors' legion fault, learn ways to live instead of ways to die. Upon one indistinguishable day, a private college joined him in his hole. A fresh-faced boy of barely 17 who volunteered while flushed with boyish pride to find himself alone in fields of France. A rifle thrust into his soft-skinned hands with orders loose to shoot at other boys or give his life to gain a foot of soil. The two men, whom in normal course of life would find no common ground on which to walk, did quickly strike a fine resounding chord. And friendship crackled sprightly into life.
Entrusted with the role to dig under the no man's land above and lay charges under enemy lines to give their soldiers hope in hopeless times. As foe and foe grew closer, inch by inch, saturating land through which they passed, a heavy sense of fate began to swell, as all must have an end that has a start. Soon, two sides would meet, and each would smash against a wall. And in that moment, time would come undone, as faces who'd been grown to love would fall.
That fateful day, which felt like those before,
whilst Bert listened, patient, to the earth, he heard a noise that quickly caught his breath
and chilled the very blood inside his veins.
Through mud and slime, the noise began to reach of enemy footsteps moving in retreat.
He knew this movement sadly all too well,
as chaos always followed swift behind.
Collecting thoughts, he knew he must escape and quickly turned to the tunnel's open mouth.
But through the dark, he saw with swift approach the body of young Collins rushing forth.
his mouth stretched a grin,
and in his youthful grip,
an envelope!
It's news from home. He cried with bubbling glee. The baby must have come. Quick, look and see.
Without a thought, Bert grabbed the envelope and swiftly tore the letter from within. But as his eyes scanned through the written words,
he felt a pain begin to grip his heart.
His breath was choked as from the page he read, the news laid out in unfamiliar hand.
his dearest wife, in act of giving birth, had suffered complications most severe. The loss of blood preceded loss of life, and the loss of both things that he held most dear. A future in an instant disappeared. But before these words could settle in Bert's mind, the dragon had woken from its sleep and loosed a roar that shook their very souls. A sound like nothing ever heard before echoed against the tunnel's fragile walls, then swiftly followed heavy weight of dirt that sought to bury bodies where they stood, drowning deep beneath the detritus, entombed forever in the mud.
At first, survival instinct acts alone, and checks are made to see what's still intact. Each leg and arm and finger move in turn, and skin is traced for open scrapes and tears. Any source of hot blood, tightly bound. The darkness that surrounds is thick and full. Not a crack of light finds its way in, though creeps in a gentle breeze from some air pipe, somehow still left intact despite the blast. Collins! All the words from out his lips. His ringing ears yearn for reply. Collins, are you there? He shouts aloud, his once strong voice now cracking to a cry. The empty sound that shouts back in his face sounds hollow as it drifts across his skin. The silence drowning out the piercing tone, left shrieking in his weak and ruptured drums. Its fingers fumble on the ground in search of something that could be of use. Instead, they fall upon the envelope and recollections of the last words read. And in that moment, everything is gone. Into the covered heavens, he does cry for an answer to this godless misery. The words that stick upon his lips. Why? There and then he offers up his soul as payment in return for others lost. A plea to remedy poison drunk. A promise to agree to any cost. Oh, his fevered prayers don't go unheard. For through the darkness comes a rasping voice. A click of hooves to the mud approaches slow. And a shadowy figure stoops in sight.
I can help you find the thing you seek. But, as with every other thing in life, be known with all that's taken comes a price.
Bert eyes the creature, humped and cloven hooved. Its black eyes shine like puddles in the mud. And all the fear falls from his weary bones. And as he crawls to his feet, he calmly says, "There is no price greater than that I paid."
Then offer help I shall. But first this know, the path ahead will not be straight to walk. 3 trials must you face along the way to prove you possess the heart and worth. The first, to pass across an open field that lies atop a sharp and thorny ridge. Your pace must never pass beyond a walk, no matter what the fear within your heart. And final word to keep you on your path. Whatever happens, only look ahead.
Stop! Bert calls out, but there comes back no reply. Instead, an opening presented forth itself, a tunnel mouth through which he'd never been. Bert lifts his light and urges weary legs to follow down the path that lay ahead. On he walks for what seems like days, until he reaches finally a stop. And there before his eyes lies a ridge, all covered over with thick and vicious thorns. Bert steels himself, and with emboldened heart, he starts to climb the sheer and wiry slope. He ventures forth until he reaches the top. Upon the summit, he gains an ounce of peace as he gazes across an open field. Ahead, he finds the spot he must reach. Barely 100 yards were there to cross. So, off he sets at measured walking pace. He takes his first assured but cautious step. But when boot touched ground, the feeling met was strange. The ground soft and giving more than most, but brittler than mud. or sand it seemed, like hardened shells of egg encased in cloth. Yet, further forward steps he takes, and with the words that ring inside his ears, his eyes, as told, stay firmly fixed ahead, not drifting once to peer below. But as he reached the center of the field, an awful sound that started to prick his ears, like groans collective seeping from the souls of old folk, now awakened from their cold sleep. And with each step his boots do heavy grow, as the ground beneath begins to snap and burst, a sinking feeling rising in his stomach, an old familiar stench crawls down his throat. One final step he takes before he feels a desperate grip curl around his leg, the feel of human fingers clutching hold, the helpless plea of men but left for dead. Nothing can stop the instinct fierce. His eyes drop down to look below. And suddenly, he is transported back inside a memory so raw. He feels the air of France fill up his lungs, and the brightness of the sky stings sharp his eyes. Bert breathes down to his boots and eyes ahead. He ushers forth each straw strength he has left, and step by step he finds the field's edge.
Trial is complete.
Bert turns round and sees the beast's black eyes.
The second lies in wait should you proceed. But know that further horrors lurk ahead. Along this path the chamber you shall find, wherein resides a strange and vivid beast. Its riddle you must solve for you to pass. But be sure to answer quick and answer true, for within its breath a poison lies, enough to send men mad, or even worse.
Bert grits his yellow teeth and presses on. The dim and pitted path shows him the way. Before long, the tunnel's walls constrict, and Bert is forced to crawl that he may pass. He feels the solid clay beneath his hands, the crumbling earth atop his head. The roots of trees long dead reach down to stroke his back, as if to see he's real. He trudges through these bowels of the world, till up ahead he spies a crimson glow. And out he's emptied into a hollowed room, where there his greeter lies in wait. The demon shape is hard to tell at first. It seems to almost rise up from the mist. A cloudy, mustard hue its form doth take, and at the top, a hard and fearsome face It shakes Bert's nerve in cold and desperate fear.
You wish to pass!
The specter hisses soft. Bert begins to feel his skin prick and burn. His sickness in his stomach starts to rise. His eyes begin to itch and sting and swell. His throat feels raw. It is stripped of all its flesh.
If riddle you solve, you may proceed. But should you fail, your grave will be where you fall. What thing can sate a warlord's appetite, or soothe the battle widow's broken heart? What can bring back the sons and daughters lost, or makes the shed of blood seem justified?
Bert begins to feel the breath surround him like a fog. His skin alight like fire, blistered and cracked. The metallic taste of blood crawls in his throat, and ground feels is ripped from underneath. He fixes on the words that sting inside his mind. He pictures the leaders mongering their wars. The weeping wives when telegrams received. And parents losing that they held most dear. He searches through all meaning he might find for an end to justify these hateful means. And suddenly, he recalls his wife, an unborn child ripped cruelly away. Bert stares into the demon's deadened eyes, his long face like devil sick of sin. As the answer rings out clear, with his final ounce of breath, he rasps out, "No thing can sate a warlord's appetite, or soothe a battle widow's broken heart. No thing can bring back the sons and daughters lost, or make the shed of blood seem justified. Nothing! That is the answer you seek!" And as the words escape Bert's cracking lips, the beast evaporates into thin air.
You've reached the final trial, and with it comes the chance to prove your worth. Beyond this door, a guardian awaits who holds within the key to set you free. This demon you must conquer for you to pass, or else be trapped in dark forevermore.
And with the hoary creak of ancient wood, the door creeps upon its hinges, revealing forth the path for Bert to take. Bert stands below the newly opened hole. He feels a bright light shine down upon his face. Then suddenly, he feels a grip upon his arm, and a sound of creatures from another time. "Bert!" comes down familiar voice.
"We're here to get you out. Just take my hand. You have to hurry, because this hole won't last. Just one final push, and you'll be free."
Hope stirs in Bert. He thought he was lost, and the urge to live burns bright. But as he tries to start his sweet ascent, a noise rings faintly from the dark below. Bert turns his head and strains his ears to hear, and sure enough, there comes a baby's cry. Bert lets go of Savior's hands and disappears back into the gloom.
Bert!
Cries down familiar voice.
The tunnel without hold! We have to go!
But Bert ignores the warning and runs towards the infant's weeping wail. Till up ahead he spies a collapsed wooden beam, his body trapped and bleeding underneath. "My as tears prick in his eyes. And with every ounce of strength he has, he grips the wood and lifts with all his worth. And there below lies Colin, still alive. He grabs the boy and drags him through the mud, while praying he not be too late. Till up ahead he spies the divine light, and sound the voices coming through the breach.
There's no time to spare! The earth is crumbling even as we speak!
No!
He sits alone in blackness once again. As the air round him starts to thin, his body weak, his breath begins to slow. As he, weary, submits to the end, a gentle smile flickers across his face.
Then, from the black, a glow begins to swell. And figure dressed in white starts to emerge. Bert rubs his salty eyes and takes a breath, as with each step, the angel grows more clear, till before him stands his darling wife, and in her arms a beautiful babe doth sleep. She places her hand upon Bert's trembling cheek and whispers tender words into his ear. Bert looks down at the infant in her arms and feels his heart begin to swell deep within his chest. Then, with one perfect kiss, she takes his hand and leads him toward the brilliant light. And with each step Bert takes, a weight doth lift, as lingering fear begins to lose grip. The smell of death within his lungs starts to fade. The sight of blood clean washes from his eyes. The cry of bombs and guns begin to cease.